Little change of pace in this video. Today, what I intend to do is to review a smartphone. I've had, I think, 12 smartphones over the last 20-some years, and only two have really sort of blown me away when I got them. The first one that blew me away was this now seemingly diminutive iPhone 4, which I bought back in 2012. And it's diminutive because this is the new phone I bought, the iPhone V60, which you can see is much, much larger. And I want to review it because when I bought the phone, and it was a difficult decision for me. Phones are very expensive today. I had made the decision to switch from iOS to Android, which is a whole other story. And what really helped me were the videos I found on YouTube. The phones I was considering, I'd go through all the videos that I could find, and it really helped. It helped me narrow down what I wanted to do and helped me make the decision that I did. And ultimately, it was a decision that's probably the most happy I've been with a phone purchasing decision. So I thought I should share some of this on YouTube with anybody who might be searching around looking for V60 reviews, and give them at least my personal take on this. I say personal take because buying a smartphone is a personal decision. There's no really best smartphone. Buying a smartphone is sort of like buying a vehicle. So, it depends what you're looking for. And that was, in my case, what I was looking for ultimately was the V60. So I'm not saying here that the V60 is the best phone ever produced. It's, everybody should go out and buy a V60. I'm just saying these are the reasons that led me to look at the V60, to purchase one, and ultimately to be very happy with it. Were an iPhone 7 and an iPhone XS. And I was increasingly annoyed with them. The main reason was battery. The 7 had a very strange battery. I don't think it was unique to me, but it would go down to somewhere in the 30s and then just drop off the cliff and go to 0 and shut down. And you never knew when it would happen. You could be at 39 and it would do it, or you could be at 30 and it would do it. Which meant as soon as you got down anywhere toward 30, you started getting nervous because you never knew, when's this thing going to die on me? So I got rid of it and I moved up to a XS. And I thought, well, this would be the answer. And initially the XS, and it depends on how you use your phone, but I use my phone a lot in the morning. I get up and I check everything. I'm going through my emails, checking videos on YouTube and doing social media stuff on Twitter and Facebook, and I have a blog and all these other things. And I'm going through the press, seeing what's happening in Asia, the Middle East, which the news usually comes a little earlier because of time differences. And when I first got the XS, which I loved, it was a beautiful phone, but the battery was going down under 50 by about 1 o'clock. And I still had, a long way to go. I usually don't go to bed till midnight, and I do a lot of stuff at night too. So I found myself having to charge it again. And if I had to go out, then I was constantly charging it in the car. And I know that once you do that, you're doing multiple charges a day, you start dragging down the battery, and the battery starts deteriorating. So sure enough, after a while, and I had the phone for about 1.5 years, instead of sort of running down where it needed to be charged at about 1 o'clock, it was 12 o'clock. And then eventually it was 11 o'clock. I was, well under 50%. And I'd have to start charging the battery again. And it was just getting to be this problem. So one of the things I wanted was a phone with a battery that might get me through the day. And the phone on the XS, the battery in the XS just wasn't going to do that. Another thing I found annoying with Apple was, I should say, since I don't have one anymore, the memory. And I was constantly having to figure out how much memory to buy, how much do I need? And I was always guessing wrong. And there was nothing you could do about it. There was no expandable memory. So when I bought the iPhone 7, I didn't get enough memory. And eventually I found myself where when a iOS update would come out, I'd have to offload things, pictures or music or whatever, till I would get enough space where I could, download and install the iOS upgrade and put everything back on, which got to be a pain in the butt, especially sometimes when they were having a couple problems and they would change and offer little updates in quick succession. With the last phone, the XS I bought, I ended up having about twice as much memory as I needed. And I had paid, several $100s for this additional memory that was basically wasted. Storage memory we're talking about here. And I found that annoying. Also, I had an Android phone. It was running Android 1 or 2 back in the 2010, 2011. I think it was a Motorola or something. And I knew that Android had come a long way since then. And it seemed like, from what I had seen in videos and references of people who I knew had Androids, that it was much more customizable than the iOS system, at least customizable to somebody with the skills that I had. So that was something else that attracted me to the iPhone. And so I started looking for an Android phone that was appealing to me. The phone that caught my eye was the Samsung Galaxy Fold. And I was very excited when it first came out, and then unfortunately they withdrew it because there were all kinds of problems with the skin being peeled off and things like that I won't go into. But I was really interested in buying one. And I started looking at all the videos on the Fold. And it was a $2,000 phone, which was, I better like this thing if I'm going to spend $2,000 on it. But it looked really cool. And it looked like there were a lot of things that I do with the phone I could do with it. But there were a couple of things I saw in the reviews that made me think twice about it. One was because it was sort of a re-released version of an earlier phone. It had basically last year's chip, the chip that ran it, the Qualcomm chip. And so basically, if I was going to spend $2,000 and I wanted to keep it for a few years, I was already running a chip that was a year old in a brand new phone. I didn't like that aspect of it. It didn't have 5G. And I live in Tampa, Florida, and we're not, one of the big 5G hubs of the country by any means, but there's 5G all around me. And, I could see the maps on, for Sprint and T-Mobile and where they were expanding. And I thought, if I'm going to keep this phone for 2 or 3 years, 5G is going to be near my house. It already is just blocks from me. There actually are 5G areas, places that I go. So that was important to me. The other things that made me think twice about it were some of the reviews. They mentioned, for example, it's not waterproof. I won't go into all the things I do, but I have a morning routine where I use a rowing machine outdoors, and then I get in the hot tub. And I do a lot of social media when I'm in the hot tub. I'm in the water. I dropped my XS 3 times into the hot tub, and of course it is water resistant, and nothing happened. So I wanted a water resistant phone. And the Galaxy Fold is not water resistant. The other thing, living in Florida, not surprisingly, we go to the beach on occasion. And one of the things several of the viewers said was, don't get it dirty, because if you get dirt, especially sand, which are the little pieces of rock in there, and you close the thing and it gets in there, it's just going to, take out that plastic coating, which is basically your screen. So I thought, well, maybe this isn't the phone for me. And then, but if it isn't the phone, where do I go? So I started looking at, foldable phones, searching foldable phones on YouTube. And I saw the Huawei, and that looked really cool too. But it had some of the same problems with the getting sand or waterproofing and things like that. And the whole thing with Huawei and Google and things going on between China and the US, I didn't know, what's going to look like in 3 years. So maybe I shouldn't buy a Huawei phone. So I passed on that. And it was during one of these searches that I came up with some hits on this LG V60 dual. It's a case with dual screens that open up like this. And I thought, maybe this is what I should get, or at least consider. So I started looking at all the reviews I could find on the LG V60. Now, there were several things I liked about the V60. It was foldable like the Galaxy Fold. Now, admittedly, you have this spot right down the middle, but it doesn't really matter unless you're doing something full screen. And in my reviews, I saw that there was a free app you could download from the Android App Store, which could make almost anything run. And one of the main things I do, I have a bigger screen for, is use Kindle. I read a lot on my phone. And it's one thing to read on a little phone. It's a nice thing to read on a bigger phone, especially a dual phone. And if you put this thing in landscape, and you run this app, you can actually use your Kindle. And there's the gap, but it doesn't block out text. It's just the text is divided between the two sections. And as you read, after a while, you don't even notice it. It's great for gaming. You can, not that I do all that much gaming on my phone, but you can use the second screen just to, control your games as a game controller. And for typing, if I'm doing a lot of typing or I'm doing answering emails and things, you can turn the main screen, or you can do, it doesn't matter which way you can do it, into a keyboard. And I have big fingers, and I have a lot of trouble typing on the little phones. And with the little tiny keys, I'm always making errors and everything. And it's just a lot easier to do that. Now, I don't do that all the time, and I certainly don't do it in the hot tub, because I don't take the full case in there. I just pop it out, and I take out the phone. And I said, well, this looks really good. The other thing that appealed to me, it had expandable memory up to 2 terabytes, which is probably far more memory than I would ever need. So I wasn't just stuck with that. I could put the things that take space, like pictures and video, and just dump them all onto the little expansion card and save the other memory for the other apps that I use. So I thought that was good. And it has the 5,000 milliamp battery, which was not quite twice what my XS had. And I thought, well, this, if anything is going to get me through the day, this battery will get me through the day with the V60. And, it's great because you can use it in the phone. And when you do, admittedly, it's very clunky. I mean, putting it into the case it's bulky, it's heavy. And basically, I keep it in the case when I'm around the house. Because if that's when I do if I'm doing a lot of typing or answering emails or something, I'm going to do them in the house. I'm not doing them out on the road. And then I just pop it out of the case and put it in another little case that I have, smaller, lighter case. And I take it with me when I'm exercising in a hot tub, if I go to the beach, or, when I'm on the road. So I don't have to carry around the full thing. So it works out really well. And I've been very happy with it. I use that. With the dual screen, you can also have on the main screen, you can have 2 apps open, and you can have a third one open on the left side. So you can actually have 3 things open at once. And I've actually used this a lot. I have some on the phone with doctors occasionally, and what I do is I'll open the call. You call in for the video conference with the doctor, and then they put you on hold until he's ready. And I'll put my notepad over on the left, which I'll be talking about in a minute with the use of the pen, so I can keep notes as they change my medications and do things like that. And then on the right side, I'll split the screen, and under waiting for the doctor's screen, I'll do whatever else I want to do, read a newspaper article or go through Twitter or watch something on YouTube. And then when the doctor comes on, I just switch the screens around and bring the notepad, put him on the left and the notepad on the right, and I take my notes as he's telling me, what he wants me to do. So it works out really great. I've been very happy with it, and I don't use the dual screen as much as I thought I would, but it was only an extra $100 to get it. So it's not that big a deal, but I do use it, on occasion, especially when I read. If I'm reading a book on a Kindle, I will use that. You can set it down as a base and pop it up, and you can just read through the page. And it's a lot easier than, reading it on my little XS, which isn't, when I bought it, was considered a pretty big phone. But even by today's standards, it's not as big. Now, I've had the phone for, I think it's going on 11 weeks now, almost 3 months. And I'm getting happier with it, which is very rare. Usually the phone wears off after a while. But this one, I'm finding many more ways that I like it and that I can use it, because there's so many things you can do with it that are different from a normal phone. The sound, it has a headphone jack. Now, I haven't really had a headphone jack on a phone in a long time. But not only does LG have a headphone jack on this phone, it's actually an excellent sound system for a smartphone. And even with some mid-priced wired earbuds that I have, the sound's just terrific. And when I'm in a waiting room or waiting in line or going somewhere, waiting for the other day, waiting for the car to get repaired, I can just pop these in and listen to music. And it's the quality is really good, far better than I had on my my Apple iPhone, the XS, or any of the ones that came before it, even when they had headphone jacks. So I really like that. The thing that I really like about the phone the most, and what's surprising, is I don't even know about it when I bought it. In the reviews that I was reading back in March, when I was making the decision to buy the phone, nobody mentioned that you could use a pen with it, and a bamboo pen. And I didn't know that until I got it. Even after I got it, I didn't know, but I was watching a newer review, and the guy mentioned that, and I had no idea. So I ordered myself a bamboo pen. And it's just terrific. I've never had a phone with a pen function before. And I can say this, I'll never not have one again. Now, again, everybody uses their phone differently. But I find this thing extremely useful. I mentioned that I'll use it when I have conferences with people, or I'm on the phone with somebody and I have to write down instructions. It's just so much more convenient to be able to write them down right on the phone with the pen. But also, I get ideas for videos or ideas for posts, or I see something on the news that I want to, make note of somewhere on Facebook or Twitter, or I see something. And when I see them, I'm 68 years old. Sometimes your memory is not what it was. I'll get a good idea and think it's really a good idea. And then 2 hours later, I don't remember what it was. So I always have my phone with me, and I keep a pen nearby. Wherever I go, the phone and the pen go together. And if I'm watching something in the news and I get an idea for, say, a YouTube video, I just fire it up and open up one of the apps and just make my notes as I go along. That way I don't have to forget. And I've got these things scrolled all over the place. My monitor, which you can't see from here, but I used to have little Post-it notes all the way down the right side, all the way down the left side, and all the way across the bottom, because I make these little notes, I write things down, and I'd stick them up there, and there's some different colors and things like that. And it was a big mess. But I don't have that anymore. I think I've got 3 left. These are for older things I was trying to get done that I haven't finished yet. And they're coming off one by one, and the new ones are all on my phone. I just keep them on the little notepads, and I can color code the skins and everything, and it's just terrific. I mean, I use the Bamboo Paper writing app too, which is a free download. I guess you can get a paid version, but I just use the free one, and it's perfectly fine for me. So I have this function of the phone that I didn't even know I wanted. I didn't know that I had, and now I couldn't live with it. Whenever this phone goes, if I'm going to get another phone, it's going to have to be something that I can use a pen with, because to me, it's something I won't ever be without again. Now, there are some shortcomings of the phone. The display is a 60 megahertz refresh rate. Some of the new phones have 90 and 120. I don't know why that's important. To me, it drags a little when I flick the screen. I don't even think about it. It's not like I had one before. Maybe if I went from a 120 down to a 60, I would notice. But having gone from a 60 to a 60, I don't notice. So I don't even miss that. I do miss the facial recognition I had on the XS, especially when I'm in the hot tub. I could open that thing up even when I looked sweaty and my hair was soaked. It would still recognize me. The fingerprint reader, even when your hands aren't wet, it's a little clunky. Sometimes it doesn't work the first time, and you got to move your thumb around. I've tried recalibrating the thumb several times, and it's not the best fingerprint sensor in the world. It's under the screen at the bottom. And when I'm in the hot tub and my thumbs get soaked and they start to swell, I guess, and the fingerprint actually changes, it just doesn't work at all. And there's ways you can scroll through it and bring up the number so you can put in a 4-digit code, PIN code to get in. And that works fine. So it's not like some big problem. And once I get in the hot tub and I get it open and I'm using it, I only have to do it once. So it's not an annoyance. But if you want a really good fingerprint reader scanner that opens the phone quickly, the V60's not for you, if that's what you really need on the phone. To me, it's not that big a deal. What else? Is there anything else I don't like about the phone? No, there's really nothing. I mean, between the pen function, it's even in some ways, I would have to say that I'm really glad I didn't get the Galaxy Fold because it's always together and I couldn't use it in the hot tub and it's sometimes harder to use. Whereas with this phone, if I'm in one of those situations, I don't want a clunky phone, I just pop it out and I still have my phone. So in many ways, while it's nicer to have the single, pure screen of the Galaxy Fold, this is a lot more flexible because you don't really need two screens all the time. And when I need two screens, I can have them. When I don't need two screens, I can just take it out. And I don't have to carry the whole thing around with me all the time. If I'm traveling, I'll just pack the case away in case I need it with a pen, and I'll put the phone in my pocket. So it's really been great. And I have no complaints about the phone. The other thing I have to say here is price. The phone with the dual screen at T-Mobile, I think it was $900. And now my wife was also looking at a new phone, and she was interested in the Galaxy Flip that they had. Now that's a $1,400 phone. And the Galaxy Fold I was looking at was $2,000. So we're looking at spending between us $3,400 for two new phones. And I knew I could get about $400 for my 10S used. So we're looking at basically $3,000 bill. By switching to T-Mobile, at the time they had a buy one, get one free. So you get two $900 V60s for $900, which brings the cost of the phone down to $450. Plus I saw my 10S for the $400 I knew I could get. So basically I was getting two of these V60s, flagship LG phones, for a net cost of $500. The one was free, the other one was $900, $400 for my trade-in, so I paid $500 for the two phones, which means the unit cost of the phones was $250, which was, so if I paid $250 for my phone, that's less than I paid for my iPhone 4 back in 2012, which I think was $300. Maybe it was even more, I can't remember, with the memory I got. So it was a great buy. Now, to be sure, the last time I checked, T-Mobile was not running that promotion anymore. They aren't buy one, get one free. In fact, when I checked the other day, they didn't even have any in stock. They had sold out, which I guess they got wiped out with the promotion, buy one, get one free. So, taking this all together, I'm very happy. We've got two of these phones. We paid on average $250 a piece for them. So our out-of-pocket expenses were $500, where if we had bought the Galaxy Flip and the Galaxy Fold, we were talking like $3,000. So $3,000 versus $500. And, I'm very happy with the phone. So to me, that was a great deal. Now, as I said, admittedly, you're not going to find that deal probably right now, but maybe it'll come back. So that's my take on the V60. And like I said, I'm not saying this is the greatest phone ever made or the greatest phone you can buy right now. It depends what you want to do with it. But for me, the things that I do, in my day, with my daily driver and where I go and time I spend in the hot tub or time I spend at the beach, watching TV, keeping up with the news, taking down notes, writing down notes for videos or posts or whatever else that I'm doing and trying to keep tabs of things, people's names or people I see on TV being interviewed and I want to search for them, see who they are. It's just a great phone, greater than I expected because I didn't even know it had the pen function until I got it and then saw somebody review it and mention it. And then I went out and got myself a pen and some good headphones. So if you're looking for, a V60, this is my take on it. Certainly don't buy it for the fingerprint reader. But this is, of the dozen smartphones I've had over 20 years, this is the phone that I've been happiest with for all these different reasons that I've ever purchased. To me, this is the most satisfying smartphone purchase